going to be playoffs or anything. I just think we're going to be better than we were last time. Oh, shit, we're live.
Thanks for hopping on today for our little pop-up show here on the ESEN Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. This is Dustin Reese, a.k.a. Stat Guy, and I'm joined with my bud, Jay McLovin. Jay, thanks for hopping on.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. As you saw, the show is titled Not So Great Caleb Williams. And, yeah, man, there's a lot of things going on right now in college football. Obviously, this is one of the bigger, I guess, storylines. But I'm doing good, and I'm looking forward to talking about this with you.
So, yeah, let's just dive right into this whole Caleb Williams situation. And Caleb Williams is such a polarizing figure at this point. From a talent side of things, arguably the most talented quarterback in the country right now. He's arguably going to be the top pick in the upcoming NFL draft if he elects to go out. And if not the top pick, he's going to be a top 3 pick for sure. He appears to still be in the Heisman running for the second straight year after winning the Heisman. But Caleb Williams is one of those guys where talent level is elite. Talent level is obviously there. But it just seems like he doesn't have the maturity at this point or the mental fortitude to handle the NFL landscape yet. And if anyone has paid attention to what's happened in the last 3-4 months with Caleb Williams and now what kind of came out yesterday, he's on the verge of ruining his NFL career before it even gets started. And for those who want to get caught up here, throughout the summer, Caleb Williams basically said he can make more money on his current NIL deals if he returns to school next year as opposed to entering the draft, which, if that's the case, I can't blame him from going back to school. But then a couple days later, he went out and said, I'm only going to play for these 5 teams. So he's basically trying to dictate who he can play for in the NFL before even getting a chance, where you have millions of athletes who were, if they were in the position that he was in, would kill to be the top pick in the upcoming draft. And yet here this guy is saying, if this team takes me number 1, I'm not going to play for them. Or if this team is picking number 1, I'm going to go back to college because I don't want to play for him. And as a player, knowing that this could be my teammate coming into next year, that's going to rub me the wrong way even before anything even happens.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because, again, this guy was considered the best quarterback in the league, Heisman favorite. And then it seems to me like once that Oregon game hit him, and, you know, and how well – no, not Oregon, excuse me. Notre Dame. I think it was Notre Dame. It was it USC and Notre Dame, right? Yeah. Where he started to start to struggle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 3 picks in the first half.
Yeah, it's the Notre Dame. I'm sorry. I had Penix and I had Caleb's games back in my mind. But, yeah, no, when they played against Notre Dame and how well he played against Notre Dame, that really dropped his value, dropped his stock to a point now where you saw that 2023 college rankings has your boy, Michael Penix Jr., ranked number 1 now. And I think, like you said, off the All-American list, Caleb Williams' name doesn't even appear.
And it goes even a little further than that. Now you have the thing that came out. I'll pull this up on my end, and I'll just kind of read it. Came out 13 hours ago that Caleb Williams says if he does enter the 2024 draft class, he's making it clear to any team that wants him that he wants a partial ownership stake in whatever team drafts him. I don't know if it's his dad that's kind of brainwashing him with this information. I don't know if it's his agent. I don't know if it has to do with how much money he's getting with his NIL deals. But Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, all these famous Hall of Fame quarterbacks don't even have an ownership stake in any team at this point. So for him to think that whoever takes this guy number 1 is going to give him a partial ownership stake is not only asinine, but it's ludicrous. And that's kind of where the whole immaturity thing comes into play. Like, how can a guy who has yet to even play an NFL snap yet demand or basically request some sort of an ownership stake for the team that's going to take him when he could completely flop 4 years after getting drafted, and then after he leaves the team that he's on, he still has that ownership stake?
Yeah, you know, according to collegefootballnetwork.com, they have Caleb Williams ranked at number 2 in terms of quarterbacks, just quarterbacks, not in terms of top 300, just in terms of the top quarterbacks. They have him ranked at number 2. And I don't understand, like, where you think you can command or think you can command part ownership stake in an NFL team when you haven't even played the NFL down. Like, at what level does that even, quote unquote, make sense? It doesn't make sense. It's completely asinine and freaking ludicrous. There's no NFL team out there that's going to give up ownership stake or even a partial ownership stake just to get a guy to come to their team. It's not going to happen. It's just, there's no way that it happens. I mean, it'd be one thing if you were even number one, you might have but he's not even number one. He's number two. He's not an All-American. He fell off, and he's a system quarterback, like you talked about. Like I was when we were reviewing some of those tapes on him. I started to believe exactly what you were saying. He kind of is a Lincoln Riley kind of guy, system guy.
Because you have to wonder, like, when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma, Caleb Williams played great. But the moment that Lincoln Riley said he was going to leave for USC, Caleb Williams threw his name in the transfer portal not even a week later to basically follow Lincoln Riley to USC. And that leads me to believe that either A, he's a system quarterback and the only system he knows or the only system he's comfortable with is the one that Lincoln Riley has put together, or B, he didn't want to compete with Daniel Gabriel and was afraid that Daniel Gabriel was going to take the job from him in Oklahoma had he stayed. And that goes into the whole maturity level too. If you're not confident enough in your abilities to have a new coach come into town, to have a new coach basically bring in a new system, if you're not confident that you can adjust to a brand new system coming into play, how are you going to make it in the NFL if the coach that has designed this system around you the last 3 years may not follow you to the NFL? And when you go to the NFL, you're not going to have the same talent level that you have at USC where everything is catered around your strengths. You're going to have basically a clean slate of a franchise that is going to learn what you do well. And then it might take them 3, 4, 5 years to build that team around your strengths.
I agree. And like I said, I mean, it's not – I know this guy wants to think that he's like, the next big thing or whatever. But when you're throwing 3 interceptions against Notre Dame, and this is no knock on Notre Dame. I know Notre Dame is a good football team, no doubt about it. But come on, man. At some level, common sense has to chime in here, doesn't it? I mean, isn't there a certain level of common? I mean, isn't there like a certain level? Like, where does he sleep all night? And he says, you know what? I'm Caleb freaking Williams. I feel like I deserve to have part ownership stake in an NFL franchise. There's quarterbacks out there right now, like you said. Hell with the Brad Favres and Tom Brady's and all this. There's active quarterbacks right now. Patrick Mahomes doesn't even have a stake in the Chiefs,
and they won't even they're not going to give him a stake until he retires. What benefit does it have a team for them to give a future or current NFL player any active ownership stake in a team? Because once you do that, the head coach no longer matters, because whatever the owners want at that point, the head coach has no say in. So let's just say the Bears end up drafting Caleb Williams number 1, because that's who would have the number 1 pick at this point. And the Bears decide to trade Justin Fields. They draft Caleb Williams number 1, and they give him like a 5 or a 10% ownership stake of the Chicago Bears. If Caleb Williams wants to make a change, Eberflus has no chance.
Even she's probably over there telling you that Caleb Williams isn't the right guy. It's bad. Hey, look, when your children come in the room, they're saying, Daddy, Caleb Williams is not the guy. What are we doing over here? That tells you something.
But don't you kind of get that sense, though? Like, if they are to give him any sort of ownership stake, that basically means that the head coach doesn't matter at that point, because he could elect to choose not to listen to the coach, and he would have
he's part owner.
No consequences because he's part owner. So what does that tell the rest of your team that may have stuck through the good times and the bad times for 7-8 years? All of a sudden, this 21-year-old kid comes in with this I'm better than you attitude into your franchise, basically saying, I'm the number 1 pick. I'm now part ownership. I don't care if you've been here for 9 years. I'm now higher up than you.
And that's kind of where I'm actually questioning Caleb Williams' logic. I'm questioning Caleb Williams' thought processes. Is this really the guy that I want on my team? If he's already got this prima donna attitude and he hasn't even thrown a yard in an NFL game, is this really somebody that I want on my team? Or is this somebody that I can even work with on my team? Especially if you quote-unquote part owner, that's damn sure not going to happen. Hey, little girl, I know you like Caleb Williams, but it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. I mean, like seriously, if your thought process, you think as a college quarterback that you are going to get an ownership stake in an NFL franchise that drafts you, does that not tell you that his thought processes are a little off kilter? They're a little off whack. And what is that? I mean, you've already seen it in football where his decision making outside of the Lincoln Ryan system hasn't exactly done well for him.
And I know it's not the same player, obviously, but just the way he's been acting right now, it's very similar to Johnny Manziel. Obviously, Johnny Manziel had the whole drinking, drugs, kind of party mindset to it. But the way that Caleb Williams is acting right now kind of is like, it reminds me a lot of Johnny Manziel. Basically, like he thinks he's better than everybody else without even having to do anything. It's just one of those situations where I think he does get drafted, he gets his rookie contract, but that might be it because I think he's just going to continue to think that he's better than everybody else, even if he ends up being an average quarterback at best.
I mean, at some point, shouldn't the school sit him? I'm not going to sit him down, but I mean, don't you think he needs some kind of advisor before he starts making comments on social media? Because to me, I mean, hey, kudos for him trying to, wanting to strive to that level. But at the same time, brother, come on, man, come back to reality a little bit. Just come back to reality for a minute, okay? Because you're not talking normal. You're not even speaking normal.
And like you said, the whole reality of it too. I'm not even talking about this. It's the fact that 3 months ago, he literally said he was only going to play for 5 teams, where if a certain team was picking number 1, he's not going to enter the draft. That is literally a slap in the face to every single college athlete out there that has worked so hard to try to get to the next level, that has worked their butts off their entire life to try and be in the professional level. And they're basically having a guy basically dictate who he wants to play with when nobody else has that opportunity. Even if a guy, like I'll use Drake May.
Well, hold on. I will, and you know this. Eli Manning did do that with San Diego. Remember, Eli Manning was supposed to go to San Diego, and he said, "I'm not going to play there," and he wound up going to New York.
But the difference was, though, he still was in the NFL, though. It's not like San Diego drafted him, and then he said, "Well, I don't want to play for you. I'm going to go back to college." Like he stayed in the NFL. The Chargers ended up getting Rivers. The Giants ended up getting Manning, so it worked out anyways. But this is just kind of like a slap in the face to every college athlete out there because he's basically showing the rest of the college athletic landscape that if you are viewed as a top pick, if you are viewed as a top prospect, then you can basically make whatever decision you want, and it's not going to have any repercussions for you versus a guy like Michael Penix Jr. or Drake May or even anybody else. If they would come out and say, I don't want to play for this team, I don't want to play for this team, they would be lucky to get drafted at all.
Right. And let me ask you, let me take it to another level. So he came out and said, obviously, that he wants ownership stake. Do you think that that's a direct process or a direct side effect of the NIL coming into college football, giving college athletes money, so now that's making them think in different ways?
Yeah, because right now he's not getting paid to play football. He's literally.
Which I don't understand. Why doesn't he have an NIL deal?
He does. He's making $4 million.
Oh, I thought you said he wasn't making money though.
No, that's why he said that if a certain team picks number 1, he would just go back to college because he's going to make more on his NIL deal than he will on his rookie contract. He'll be making upwards of like $4, maybe $5 million on a rookie deal versus next year he's expected to make $6 to $8 million on his NIL deal. So he'll be making more to go back to college, which, yes, I can see his point of wanting to go back to college maybe for that side of things. But don't come out and say, I'm only going to play for 5 teams, and if these 5 teams aren't picking number 1, I'm going to go back to school. If that's how you really feel, just say that you're only going to go to the NFL if you feel it's the right situation for you. Don't basically just kind of point out who you want to play for when a lot of the teams that you want to play for may not have a chance to get you when you look at where they are in the standings. And the ones that do have an opportunity to get you, Bears have Justin Fields. They're not necessarily going to move on from Justin Fields. Carolina doesn't have the number 1 pick anymore, so Bryce Young's not going anywhere. And I think the Jets were on his list. They have Aaron Rodgers. I think the 49ers were on his list. They have Brock Purdy. None of those teams are going to move on from who they have for you even if they did pick number 1.
Right. I just think it's just so premature for the way his thought processes are, and it just makes me wonder, how is he going to be? Like you said, I think you brought this up. How is he going to be as a teammate? Watch this. Even without the ownership part, which we know he's not going to get that. Okay, let's just put that off to the side that never even happened, right? Just the way he's thinking right now and his mentality where he's at right now, he's already showed his cards that he's probably not going to be a true team player. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely.
So how do you, and so let me ask you this: what kind of do you believe that that's going to have also a negative effect on his draft stock? Because teams out there are going to be like, oh my God, this dude's a prima donna. Maybe we need to slide down and figure out some other quarterback to take. I mean, isn't he kind of hurting his draft stock right now, making these comments?
He is, but at the same time, he isn't. He is because depending on who picks first.
Right.
Take into account, like I said, if a team like the Bears pick first and they basically say we are done with Justin Fields and we want to move on, they're kind of forced to take him number one because they tried Mitchell Trubisky by trading up. It didn't work. They tried Justin Fields by trading up. It didn't work. And if Caleb Williams is sitting there basically ready to fall into their lap, from a talent level, he has too much talent to pass up versus where if he does pan out, you're going to be looked at as the dumbest GM in the world for not taking him number one. So in that aspect, he's not really hurting his draft stock just because certain teams have no choice but to take him at number one. But now I'll let you get into a position where, let's just say the Denver Broncos pick number one, depending on how their season goes. They're still stuck with Russell Wilson for 3 more years. They're probably not drafting a quarterback number one. So then now you're looking at where is Williams going to fall at this point? Is he going to go to number 2? Well, the Bears are picking number 2, and they might not go quarterback at number 2. Does he fall to number 3? Well, this team just drafted Bryce Young, or this team just drafted C.J. Stroud in the Houston Texans. He's probably not going number 3. And by not going number 1, you literally just costed yourself $2.5 million by opening your mouth and kind of saying the things that you said. And that's why, being a Vikings fan right now, we're scheduled to pick, I believe number 5 is where we would be picking. Well, no, we were number 5. Now we went down to number 8 because we beat the Bears on Sunday. And
damn the Vikings! Why do you're supposed to lose?
Well, I firmly believe Minnesota's going to draft a quarterback in this draft. I really do.
Yeah.
And I've said, and everyone on this network and every show that we've done, I've been backing the Michael Penix for Heisman since basically week 2 of the season. And I'm going to continue to do that just because Michael Penix is the quarterback that every NFL team wants. He's got the big arm. He's got the anticipation. He's got just the way that his ball placement, but he doesn't open his mouth to create drama. He shows up to practice. He shows up to games, plays, does what he's supposed to do, and then gets back to work and ready to prepare for his next game. And if I'm going to build my franchise around a young quarterback, yes, he may not be as skilled as Caleb Williams in some other areas. He does have that injury history that he had at Indiana, but when he was at Indiana, he was 10-2 as a starter with Indiana, which is no easy feat at Indiana because Indiana is not a powerhouse college football program. He almost beat Ohio State twice when he was with Indiana. Now he's gone to Washington, and all he's done in his 2 years at Washington is go 17-2 with 65 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, the guy, when he's healthy, has shown that he has every bit of physical tools as every single great quarterback out there. It's just that injury history is, I think, what has kind of knocked him a little bit further back in the quarterback rankings. But this is the first year that he is showing what he can do when healthy. And I'm not going to be surprised at all if he does win the Heisman over Caleb Williams, because when those teams, I think those teams play each other in 2 weeks, USC and Washington.
Right.
Even if USC beats Washington, which I think they can just because they have the better overall offense, if Michael Penix outplays Caleb Williams in that game and still loses, I think that solidifies the Heisman for Michael Penix at that point. Just because he already knocked off Oregon, who has a great defense, and put up 39 points on Oregon versus Caleb Williams threw 3 interceptions against a great defense in Notre Dame.
So if Michael Penix, whether he wins or loses playing USC, if Michael Penix can outplay Caleb Williams, does that then put his draft stock over and his chances of going number one over Caleb Williams, does it promote that even more? Or do you think that no matter what happens, Caleb Williams is still on talent alone, like you said, his talent, which he is talented. I'm not saying he's not. So do you think his talent alone is going to keep him at number one regardless of however well he plays against Michael Penix?
I think his talent alone will keep Caleb Williams number one unless he has another game like he did against Notre Dame. If he had another game against Notre Dame and Oregon is the game to circle because Oregon's defense is just like Notre Dame where they like to pressure the quarterback. And that's exactly what Notre Dame did to Caleb Williams. They pressured him, forced him out of the pocket, and forced him to make a lot of dumb decisions. That's something that Oregon's defense does extremely well too. And that's the other game to circle where if he has another game where he's basically, I'm not going to say panicking, but if he's basically getting forced out of the pocket and forced him to make a lot of decisions that he normally doesn't make, then you can start to see his draft stock take a little bit of a tumble. I don't think Penix will go ahead of Williams regardless, but if Penix does outplay Caleb Williams when they meet in a couple of weeks, I'm not going to be surprised to see Penix overtake Drake May as the second quarterback taken in the draft. And then you're going to start seeing towards the end of the year they have USC and Utah lined up, and then most likely the Pac-12 championship game after that. If Penix can get a Pac-12 championship this year, get his team into the Rose Bowl, I don't see why anybody would not want to give him a chance at number one. Because, like I said, if I was drafting today and he was sitting on the board at number 8, I'm taking him without any questions. Even if I had other needs that I needed to address more, I'm not letting him get away. I will take him at number 8. And then I will trade a second and a third round pick to trade back into the first round and then address another need that I have.
Yeah, because I really like we said on a previous show when we were discussing Michael Penix highlights versus Bo Nix Oregon game. He just looked so fluid, man. He looked fluid. He had great ball placement. He had great strength. He put the ball, right in stride and not behind him. I mean, he was just playing, and he had a quick one-step drop so he can get the ball out super quick, which was a great skill to have considering you're going into the NFL. And we all know how fast the NFL. In the NFL, you got maybe 3 seconds, 4 if you got a really good offensive line. So if you got a good one-step drop and you can get that ball out in 3 or less, I mean, damn.
Yeah,
how much better do you want?
One-step drop, a quick 7 to 10 yard slant pass. Defenses. That's ultimately what you want from a quarterback when a team blitzes you. You want a quarterback to take a quick one-step drop, recognize the blitz, and let it rip. If he does that in the NFL, takes a one-step drop and then fires like a 7 to 10 yard slant pass, nobody's going to be able to blitz him because they're not going to be able to get to him. And then if you don't blitz him, he's just going to tear you apart because he has the patience and the recognition to decide where the receivers are going to go. And just the connection that he has with his receivers right now, obviously that's not going to be the same at the NFL right away. But just the chemistry that he has with his receiver right now, he can anticipate where that person's going to be. And every single throw that we saw against Oregon, he put it where only his receiver could get to it, where if it wasn't going to be caught by the receiver, it was incomplete. There was no way the defense was going to have a chance to get to it. Yeah.
I mean, and the way I see this honestly going, and I've been wrong before, but but obviously, system quarterbacks, I just don't ever see them working out in the NFL. Ohio type quarterbacks never work out. Alabama quarterbacks outside of Tua really don't work out. And I said Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts, he kind of had the benefit of Nick Saban and Lincoln Riley, so he's kind of an anomaly there too as well. I mean, there's a couple of anomaly guys out there, but by and large, it seems to be like system quarterbacks don't really work out as well in the NFL as more fluid ones do. And I think that the more pro-ready guy is going to be the one who probably ultimately will have the better NFL career. And even though Caleb Williams may go number 1, even if Michael Penix goes as a second quarterback off the board, I think he's going to have number 1. I think he has a better long-term NFL career. And I think that's, because even Leaf went what, number 2?
Ryan Leaf went number 1.
Oh, excuse me, number 1. Mm-hmm. And then you saw, right? You saw what happened to Ryan Leaf, right? He was a bust all the way around, and then Peyton Manning wound up being the better quarterback in the
Manning went 1, Leaf went 2, yeah. So either way, yeah.
I thought it was Leaf went 2, but either way, I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? I'm saying when you no matter where you put him at 1, put him at 2, Ryan Leaf never panned out. And I really don't think that Caleb Williams is going to pan out. I think the NFL is going to eat that dude up and chew him and spit him out.
And the other thing I look at it too is from a talent side of thing, who has more offensive talent, USC or Washington?
USC.
And who's putting up the better numbers?
Washington.
Penix is putting up better numbers with less surrounding talent around him, which is what makes him more NFL ready, because he's going to be more prepared to head into a system and head into a situation where they don't have the best overall talent.
And another thing too, I want to point out about Caleb Williams, he's a very much a running type quarterback, and a lot of those running quarterbacks tend to get hurt a lot. So that makes me wonder, how is this durability going to be in the NFL?
Are you talking about Penix?
No, Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah. Penix.
I think Caleb Williams is going to have a hard time with not staying on the injured list.
I mean, he's a bigger quarterback. He's like 6'4", I think 6'5", 230. So I mean, he's a big guy. So he's going to be able to take the hits that some guys can't take. But with the offensive line that he has at USC, he doesn't get hit much. He's going to get hit in the NFL, and we don't know how he's going to take some of those hits yet.
Yeah, and if he thinks he's going to get one of those 5 teams, he may get one of the 5, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. You know that. I know that. It's crazy, man. Crazy. Well, you ready to talk some Astros and get up out of here?
Oh, yeah, I was just about to say, let's hop on out of here, but let's get some final thoughts and maybe a couple minutes on what you think is going to happen. And now that the Houston Astros are packing up their bags, hopping on the coach bus, and driving about 2 hours to Arlington.
Well, a couple of things pops into my mind. Number one, it's still a home game, right? Because, like you said, it's only 2 hours away from stadium to stadium. So, I fully expect there to be a hell of a lot of Astros fans up there, just like there was a lot of Rangers fans down here. So it's still going to be a home game, but not a home game, right? I mean, the Astros have always done historically poor the last 2 years at home. And when they go on the road, they historically have played better. So it's not over yet. It's certainly not in their favor right now, down 0-2, right? So it's obviously not in their favor. I know Frankie said that tonight the Astros more or less will be down 0-3. I don't think that's going to happen. I really do believe that we will get a bounce-back win tonight. And I really believe if we don't get a bounce-back win tonight, then most likely this series is done, it's over, and it's just time to pack it up. So I think tonight is a very extremely pivotal game. I got plenty of vodka on ice. Care of me in case it's not. I suggest please don't nobody message me if the Astros are losing. I tend to go in baby mode, fetal position. I don't know, whatever. But no, seriously, back on a real topic though. Mickey Delaney, I know Mickey had texted me today saying things weren't looking too good for Houston, and they're right. They're not looking good for Houston. And there's, obviously, look, offense was definitely the key factor in the Astros loss game 1. Pitching. Okay, let's be specific. Framber Valdez was the issue in game 2. If you don't know that Framber Valdez gave the Rangers that win, then you did not watch that game. Call me a liar.
Well, hey, Jay, I don't mean to cut you. I don't mean to cut you off. I just got breaking NFL news.
Yes, go ahead.
The Chiefs just picked up one of their former players to add to their offense.
Is it going to be? It's not going to be Tyreek. Is it going to be Juju Smith-Schuster?
The Jets trade McCole Hardman back to the Chiefs.
Really? Yeah, he did well. He actually did well with the Chiefs. I mean, he wasn't a big star with them, but he's definitely a good possession guy.
Yeah, for a 5th round pick.
That's a good trade for the Chiefs.
I don't
know how well it's going to be
for the Chiefs, because you're bringing in a guy that's played with Patrick Mahomes for 5 years, and you can literally stick him into practice tomorrow, and he'll know that system like the back of his hand.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He'll know back at the back of the end. Well, good for the Chiefs. I hate the Chiefs, so I really don't care. I hope he flounders. I hope they go down in a fiery ball of flames. I hate the Chiefs. I pretty much hate anybody that's not Dallas.
Yeah, but when getting back to the Astros talk, I know we've kind of gone back and forth on it, and last week on our show when we were talking ALCS predictions, everyone was saying 7 games, and I just kind of wanted to be a little cocky dick to you, and so I said Texas is going to win in 5, which that pick isn't looking too bad at this point right now that Texas is going to win in 5. I don't think Texas is going to win in 5. I think Texas will win in 6. I think the key, like you said, is this game. You have Javier on the mound tonight, a guy that has pitched very well in the ALCS. He's pitched very well in the World Series against Max Scherzer, who's making his first start in about a month and a half. And as good as Max Scherzer has been during the regular season, he has not pitched very well in the playoffs. He did have a couple nice games when he was with Washington when they made their World Series run in 2019. But outside of that, he's got an ERA of close to 5 in the postseason. And I think if Scherzer can come out, I don't expect him to go very long just because he's gone 6 weeks since he last started. I think he's going to be on a pitch limit or even an inning limit. I don't think he goes more than 4 innings, if not 5, if he can keep his pitch count down. But that's very difficult for Scherzer because he's a high strikeout guy. But if Max Scherzer can go out 4 innings, we'll just say 4 innings, hold Houston to 1 run or less in 4 innings, I think this could be a 4-game sweep because if Houston falls down 3-0 at this point, it's just going to be such a mental blow to them because they came in with so much momentum having to make up as much ground as they did in September to win the AL West. They had all that momentum heading into the playoffs. They got to sit the extra 7 days to rest up, kind of get their rotation set up the way they wanted to get it set up, give some of the guys that were injured a chance to recover versus Texas. Texas basically led the AL West from mid-April till mid-September. And then they started to fade at the end of the year and basically had to scratch and claw their way back in because Seattle got hot, Toronto got hot. Obviously, Tampa Bay was pretty much going to win the wild card, get the top wild card spot anyways. But all of a sudden, the playoffs start. You're down your ace that you signed at the beginning of the year, Jacob deGrom. You're down your other ace that you traded for in Max Scherzer. You're down John Gray for basically the first 2 rounds of the playoff series. So your starting rotation was Nathan Eovaldi, who's actually very good in the playoffs, so give him credit for that. He's very good in the playoffs. Jordan Montgomery, who you traded for, who all of a sudden is looking like a Cy Young winner for whatever reason since he gets to Texas. And then Andrew Heaney was your number 5 starter during the regular season. He's now coming out of the bullpen. I think he's only pitched 1 inning since the playoffs started. And Texas has yet to lose a playoff game. And now they're getting Scherzer back. And their offense is looking like that Texas offense that we saw the first 5 months of the year. It just seems to me, like you've said it before, it just seems to me that Texas is not only hungrier than Houston is at this point. Like, it seems like they want it more. But it just seems like Philadelphia and Texas are on a collision course to meet against each other because it just seems like they're both playing out of their mind at this point that no matter what their opponent does, it's not going to be enough to knock them off.
Hey, I did tell you, though, that Arizona was going to be horse crap when they meet up with the Philadelphia Phillies. I told you the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, I'm not saying you didn't say that, too.
Oh, yes.
But I was just saying, like, Arizona, hey, great run for Arizona.
Oh, yeah, yesterday I agree with you.
But you knew Philadelphia was going to run to these dudes like a molehill.
Well, no, the first game, though, Philadelphia went up 4-0 in the first inning. And they only won that game 5-3. So Arizona really didn't play that bad the first game. They gave up 2 home runs in the first inning, and then the rest of the game, Arizona played well. Yesterday, they played like crap. They let pop flies fall in front of them. Guy catches a fly ball and forgets how many outs there are, and I think 2 runs scored on that play. Like, they just completely self-destructed yesterday. Game 1, I mean, you gave up 4 runs in the first inning. After that, you actually outplayed Philadelphia for 8 innings and actually put yourself in a position to win that game late if you could have got a clutch hit, which it never happened. But, yeah, I mean, Philly, I just picked Arizona to win because I want Arizona to win just because they've only been to that one World Series in 2002, which they ended up winning it anyways. Because watching the Philadelphia Phillies just really hurts me, Jay. And I'm sure you know why.
Yeah.
They have Kyle Schwarber. They have Nicholas Castellanos, who were both on the Chicago Cubs, who the Cubs basically let walk for absolutely nothing. They didn't trade either one of them. They just let them go to free agency and didn't even bother to re-sign them. They have JT Realmuto, who the Cubs were favored to get when the Marlins traded him to Philadelphia. But the only reason why the Cubs didn't get him is because Philadelphia added one more prospect into the deal, and the Cubs didn't want to add a prospect into the deal. Cubs could have had Trey Turner this year, didn't pay the money for him. Cubs had Craig Kimbrell as their closer for 3 years, basically traded him away for nothing. Half of the Philly starting lineup used to be a Chicago Cub 4 years ago. And yet you have my favorite team, the Chicago Cubs, who are stuck in rebuild mode right now, and you have the Phillies, who are on the verge of making their second World Series in as many years. Philadelphia should be sending the Cubs a World Series ring if they win it because half the team is from the Cubs.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. Do you remember, I was trying to find it, I was trying to figure out what it was, but do you remember when Boston, and I told you about this before, Boston, I think it was Boston and the Yankees and the AL, was it the ALCS?
Yeah,
they were down 3-1?
Yeah, 2004.
Yeah, so 2004, they were down 3-1.
3-0.
Was it?
They were down 3-0 in Boston.
Or 3-0, excuse me, 3-0, but they came back and won 4-3.
Yep.
So my thing about this is this. Look, are the odds in the Rangers' favor? Yes. Is the momentum in the Rangers' favor? Yes. Right now, is the hungriness in their favor? Yes. But, sometimes, it only takes that one spark. It takes that one spark, and then we can turn around. And, if freaking Boston can come back from 0-3 and come back and win the World Series, why the hell can't we? And number two, if you remember right, when we were playing Philadelphia in the World Series, we weren't looking too good going to Philadelphia, were we?
We were down 2-1, I think, and then all of a sudden, the one Yordan Alvarez homer, and that was kind of the flip.
So my point is this. I'm telling you, this Game 3 is the pivotal game. If we can win Game 3 and then get our momentum starting to come back around, I mean, there's no reason why we can't get back in this series. But if we don't win tonight, it's going to be hard. Not impossible, because we know it has been done, but it will be extremely, extremely hard. So let me ask you this. I know Javier is going against Scherzer tonight. Who is going in Game 4?
John Gray.
So it should be John Gray against. I think it's probably John Gray versus.
I can look it up for you really quick. It's.
I want to say it's Urquidy. I think Urquidy should be on the mound for that, but you can verify that for me.
Yeah, John Gray versus. Well, it says so. It's John Gray for Texas. It's TBD for Houston. So I'm thinking it's either going to be John Gray or JP France.
You mean Urquidy or France?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? In all honesty, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, man, but I like JP France.
I do too, and what I would do, and I don't know how you feel about this, but what I would do is start JP France.
Yeah.
Use him as an opener. Go with him 2 innings, and then bring in Urquidy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this way: if he's pitching lights out, I'm gonna leave him in. But if he's pitching like this, then I probably will pull him out and put Urquidy in. It just depends on how hot and it really comes down to. It comes down to command. Will he have good command? If JP France has good command of his pitches and he's getting guys out, I'm probably going to leave him in. The problem with Valdez in Game 2 was Valdez never, ever, ever really had command over any of his damn pitches.
No, he didn't.
On any of them. And I was looking at my wife, I'm like, pull this guy. Pull Valdez out of the damn lineup. Why are we leaving him in? We got all these other guys we can go to.
Yeah, and that was the big key to me, too, is not only did he not have command over any of his pitches, but Texas knew that he didn't have his best stuff basically from the second batter in the game. So all they pretty much did was sat dead right on his heater. The first heater they got, they took a rip on it and were absolutely lighting him up.
Anthony Price, I agree we're losing, and I agree that there have been some plays that I would like to have back. But at the same time, I don't know if you can really say we're playing like trash because we lost 2-0 on the first game and we lost 5-4 on the second. Those are close competitive games. I don't think you can say that Houston is playing like trash. I think that's kind of like more a little bit on your biased side, if you will.
Maybe.
Now, you want who's playing like trash? If you want to know who's playing like trash,
offense,
then go look at Arizona getting beat 10-0. That's playing like trash.
I mean, I guess you could say, Jay, that your offense is playing like trash because they have been swinging out a lot of.
Well, they played like trash in Game 1.
Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily played like trash in Game 2.
No.
But I will say this. If Anthony Price has one gripe or complaint about the Astro, it would be that there is twice now that we have left bases loaded and didn't get a run out of it. So on that note, Anthony Price, I will say that particular instances were playing like trash. I get it.
I'm looking at
hey, and Anthony, man, I hope they do win it, man. I hope you are very rich at the end of all of this. I hope you're very, very rich, Anthony. I really do, man. I appreciate you putting your money on H-Town, and don't count us out yet, bro. Don't count us out yet. Wait till we see tonight, and let's see what happens tonight, and then you can say, Jay, they are like Flash. And then I know I'll probably agree with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up something here quick. Just give me a minute. In terms of the winningest managers in playoff history, Dusty Baker's 24th all-time in terms of playoff winning percentage.
Yeah.
Bruce Bochy's 9th.
Yeah, but Bruce Bochy has had some good teams. It's not like Bruce Bochy came to last year's Rangers. I mean, let's keep it in context. He's got freaking Scherzer.
No, I know.
He's got freaking Baldy. He's got Gray. I mean, it's not like this guy's coming into a crappy organization and just bringing him up to something.
The only thing that Bochy has, the only thing that I'm going to give Bochy the advantage over in terms of Dusty Baker at this point is the 3 World Series championships that he won with the San Francisco Giants in 2010, 12, and 14. 11, 13, and 15. 11, 13, and 15. Those 3 World Series titles that he won, they all came out of the wild card round, which is where Texas is this year. That's the only advantage that I'm giving him, is just because the position that he's in, it's something that is like natural to him and second nature at this point. He's managed this way in the playoffs every single time he's been there, versus Dusty Baker. Usually when he makes the playoffs, he's a division champ, or he has like a very good record and he has that first round off. That's really,
absolutely.
That's the biggest advantage that was part of the reason why I picked Texas to win the World Series once the playoffs started, was because you look at all the managers that were in the postseason. Dave Roberts, Brian Snitker, every time they make the playoffs, they're typically the 1 or the 2 seed in the NL. They have that first round off. It is what it is. Craig Counsell always seems to make the playoffs as a division winner. It is what it is. And then you have the other wild card teams with either first or second year managers that haven't been in the playoffs that much. And then you go to the AL. Baltimore Orioles manager, first ever time in the playoffs. Didn't know what to expect out of him. Toronto's manager, first ever time being in the playoffs. Didn't really know what to expect out of him. Rocco Baldelli's been in the playoffs 4 times, but typically he's a first round exit just because the AL Central is such a bad division anyways. And then you have a guy like Bruce Bochy. It seems like he's had a lot of great teams in San Francisco. No one's going to say that he hasn't. But every year that they make the playoffs, there's always one team in the division that's better than his team. So they always end up as the wild card, but it doesn't matter. They get that wild card spot. They go right through the playoffs. They go into the World Series and win it. And that's ultimately what I think it's going to come down to. I don't think it's going to come down to talent. I don't think it's going to come down to pitching or anything like that. I think it's just going to come down to, this is such familiar territory for Bruce Bochy that he's just in a comfort spot right now and he knows how to manage in this position.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go with what you're saying, but I do think it also comes down to the players themselves. And can those players, do they have fight in them to fight back? And just like back when under who was it, Frank Francona, when they came back and won. I see the Astros doing this. I think the Astros can do the same thing. Now, Mickey Delaney chimes in and says, hey, it's over, Jason. You know what, Mickey? Last time I checked, for your team, it never even got started. Okay, so just go ahead and keep sitting on the damn couch, okay?
No, wait a minute. You're not entirely correct there.
Oh, I'm entirely correct. Did they make the playoffs?
His team got
started. Did they make the playoffs?
No, but I'm saying his team got started about 5 months too late.
Shit, his team didn't get started. That's why they are where they are.
They got hot in September and missed the playoffs.
Hey, that's just Mickey Delaney trolling me, man. He trolls me all the time. I love Mickey.
His team started 5 months too late because they thought playing 500 baseball for 4.5 months was going to get it done, and then they realized in August that they actually had to start winning games.
Yeah. And then Anthony Price says, since my Orioles are out quick, I'm just mad and sad, laugh out loud. Anthony, you should be happy about your Orioles, to be honest with you. I mean, look, you guys got a super, super young team, bro. Like, you're young as hell. And the fact that you've gotten better every single year over the last 3 years, it's going to happen. At some point, it's going to happen for the Orioles. As long as they don't do any stupid trades make any dumb moves, or nobody gets injured, or Tommy Johns, or left, rights, ups and downs. As long as this team can stay healthy and keep competing, this Baltimore Orioles team will be just like the Phillies. They will be at some point in the World Series. I firmly believe that. So, Anthony Price, I know it's kind of sad that you're not in the, you didn't advance any further, but it's still look at the season you had and look at the progress you made. And if you look at that, then it gives you hope for what's going to happen even next year, right? So you're in a good spot. So you just chill out, stay on the couch, relax, stop talking shit about the Astros, and let us do our thing.
But Jay, I think we're good. I got nothing else. You got anything?
I'm good. I have said all I needed to say. Go Astros! Let's get this win tonight.
All right, Jay. We'll see you tomorrow for our Thursday night preview, I believe, and then college football tomorrow. Is it NFL tomorrow?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, tomorrow I think tomorrow's Thursday, so we should be talking Saturday college basketball. I mean college basketball in NCAAF college football. So yeah, we'll be calling football and then possibly I think it's just college football.